Hey guys, this is Courtney from Willow's Bloom, and today we are going to be talking about the Aries new moon happening on March 31st or April 1st, depending on where you live. I just wanted to warn you guys, I'm not feeling super well today, so if I don't look very energized, that's why. But I wanted to get this out for you before I go visit my family. And also, before we jump in, I wanted to let you know that if you're interested in learning astrology, I have a membership called the North Node Society linked in the description box below, and I'll tell you more about that later. So let's go ahead and jump into this new moon. Normally I don't put up the chart, but I was feeling like I wanted to record on my computer camera today, and I thought, well, why not give them a picture of what the chart looks like so they can kind of see what is actually going on in the sky. So this is what I look at when I'm trying to interpret what is going on in the astrology. So basically, whenever we have a new moon, we have the sun and the moon making a conjunction in the sky. So that means that they're right next to each other. They're both at 11 degrees and 30 seconds of Aries. And the house placements will vary depending on your personal chart. And I'm actually going to break it down by the rising sign so that you can determine which house it falls in. The rising sign starts the first house. And so that's how we know what sign follows on the second house and the third house and the fourth house. And that is why it's important to have your rising sign as the very first reading that you do for all of these videos. And then it is helpful to look at your sun sign as well, although a little bit less relevant. So what is an Aries new moon about? Well, first of all, let's start off by saying that this is the first new moon of the astrological new year. So every Aries season, the first new moon starts the new year again. So we are finally in 2022, according to astrology terms. And this one is kind of starting out with some touch of the past because we are having Chiron almost exactly conjunct this moon. You can see it's only at 12 degrees. It's only a matter of seconds away from this new moon in Aries. And Chiron is an asteroid associated with our past woundings. So this can be woundings from our childhood, or if you believe in past lives, it can go all the way back from there. But Chiron is also known as the wounded healer, and it gives us the opportunity to work on these aspects of ourselves and heal them. And given that this is all happening in Aries, which is the start of the year, the start of our new cycle, I think that we're trying to be called to initiate things in a new way in our life, have a new slate by kind of clearing up some of the old. And I think a lot of the things that we're going to be clearing up are the things that stop us from taking action in our lives, or the things that feel like they are impediments in some type of way. And these are things like insecurities, doubt, feeling overwhelmed, looking at our objective and feeling like it's not possible. A lot about this is accepting that we have the power within us to actualize our goals, to actualize our dreams, and that these things from the past, even though there have been instances in which we've failed, in which we've had breakups, in which we've been poor, in which maybe some of us have even been homeless, like really hard circumstances. We have to recognize that it is a choice to live in the past mentality, believing that it will just keep repeating itself. And we have to choose differently this time around, because Aries is about our personal self, our choice, our agency, our initiative. And so this is the time to not just be like surrendering to the divine. There is some element of that, which I'll talk about later, but mostly a lot of what's happening right now is according to our own willpower. That is what Aries is about. It's a Mars ruled sign. Mars is about, I'm going to fight for my desires, for what I want to happen. And so a lot of what we're going to be confronted for these next 2.5, 3 weeks is this element of going after something new, or something that we've been trying to go after in a new way that allows us to finally drop the old stories. And I did pull some cards for this. Some of the cards that I pulled at first were the Six of Cups and the Five of Pentacles, both in reverse. And to me, this is an old poverty consciousness. The fact that the Five of Pentacles is in reverse is an indicator to me that we are not actually in that same state anymore. And if you look around and you're like, well, my finances haven't changed that much, and actually things aren't that much better than before, so how can you say that? It's because we are really starting something fresh and new. And so even though you might still see in your surroundings not a lot of change, there has to be some element of realizing that this is a new slate and we can believe that things are different instead of attaching to the fact, the things that you see around you, and accepting that as your continued reality. And I don't want this to be like toxic positivity and like ignore the reality around you, because there's always some element of realism. But the story that comes up with Chiron and the Six of Cups in reverse is getting stuck in the past and perpetuating negative cycles that you actually have the potential to leave. But when you start to think like, oh, this is how it always is, I'm just this way, then you remove your agency from that and you are kind of stuck repeating the same thing. And so I want there to be some kind of really healthy balance here where you recognize the reality of what's around you, but you don't use that as confines or a story for what is your future. And so that's a lot about what I see with this conjunction with Chiron. Mercury is also conjunct this new moon. So I think that we will have some realizations, and maybe through conversations or maybe through the self, since it is an Aries sign, we might have some realizations about some of the thoughts that we have, some of the stories that we tell ourselves, like I've mentioned, that are all rooted in past events. And this can go all the way back to childhood. So if I'm in poverty consciousness now, where did this begin in childhood? What was the programming that I received? And we are all victims of victims. We are just kind of all going through the same mess together. And so it's important to look maybe even all the way back to your family's family. Like what did your mom receive? What did your dad receive as far as information? And how has that kind of trickled down your lineage to be accepted into your life? Maybe even unconsciously or from a place of a lack of awareness. And so I think that a lot of us are meant to be shining our light in a really big way, owning our gifts, going after the things that we want. But we can't do that if we are intimidated by our past, if we are scared of the future, if we are feeling like we're not enough. And so a lot about this new moon is about facing that head on, because Aries is a sign that is a cardinal sign. It knows how to go straight into the fire, straight into the war, and not hold back. And so I feel like we are being asked to do that when it comes to our own personal wounding, to face it head on and talk about it or journal about it or express it in some type of way. I think expression is a really important aspect of this, with Mercury being with the moon. And because I also pulled the Sun card, which has a lot to do with self-expression, as well as identity and purpose, actualization, leadership. That's another quality of Aries. We are being asked to step up and lead ourselves to the promised land, to wherever we want to go. Instead of looking for the direction from other people, instead of waiting for the okay from somebody, or trying to look for approval by our peers or whatever it is, wherever you might be giving your power away, this is a time to take it back and become the leader of your own life in some capacity. I also think it's a time to step up and to be noticed on a bigger platform, because the sun is all about shining our light, our unique gifts, and the sun is very strong in the sign of Aries. It likes to be here. And so it's calling us to embody some more of this masculine energy while facing some of the softer sides of ourselves, some of the wounded childlike sides of ourselves. Okay. I also pulled the Hanged Man and the Six of Wands. So to me, this is asking yourself, because the Hanged Man is a card of pausing or being stuck in some type of fashion. And the Six of Wands is a card of visibility and success and honoring your gifts and allowing yourself to be seen and to shine, like I was saying. And so these cards to me are indicating that there is some element here of us holding ourselves back or getting ourselves stuck. And the way to get out of the Hanged Man is to shift our perspective. And so that's why Mercury is with this moon. We are meant here to shift our mind, shift our perspective, view things in our life or about ourselves differently, so that we can then allow ourselves to be witnessed in a way that might have been uncomfortable before if we have these limiting beliefs about ourselves. And so think or ask yourself, how am I trying to hide myself? What insecurities are stopping me from shining? What way am I keeping myself small? So I think that that is really going to be one of the best things that we can kind of face at this time. We also have Mars, Saturn, and Venus all together in the sky. So this is going to be something I talk about in a later video. Mars and Saturn are going to be exact away from Venus. Then we also have Jupiter conjunct Neptune in the sky, which will be exact later on. And that will be in the same video because this is kind of a bigger deal. But this can be more of an irritating energy. I will say, though, with Mars and Saturn, it's being blessed by Venus. So it is going to receive some help, some lightening of the mood with Venus here. So I don't think it's going to be as intense as it could be. But I think the fact that these planets are squaring the nodes is indicating that this is what's stopping us from achieving our highest potential. And when we think about Mars, which is a planet, a lot of anxiety, honestly, a lot of ego driven in a way, and it's actually the ruler of Aries. So it's like some of the negative qualities of Aries could be preventing us from stepping into our power, which is interesting because Mars is usually about stepping into our power, but it's sitting out with Saturn, which is restricted by rules, expectations, traditions, self-doubt, and insecurities. And Mars, especially when debilitated, and especially in an air sign like Aquarius, can leave us, like I said, kind of anxious or on overdrive. But there is some suppression of our power or will here that's happening. And that's where we can kind of give into this martyrdom, which can sometimes be represented by Mars or even Jupiter and Neptune, when in the very negative aspect of it, like this sense of victimhood, and we don't want that. We don't want our willpower to come out in an overly aggressive or unhealthy way. We also don't want it to be repressed or suppressed in any type of way. And so that can be a possibility at this time. But like I said, because Venus is here, it's going to ease some of that tension. And I think it's going to bring in some level of self-understanding, cooperation, self-compassion, love that Venus typically brings into the equation. So I think it will kind of loosen up some of its grip on this challenging aspect, which will become exact days later. I can't remember if I think it's the 3rd. Let's see. What day will these become exact? They will become exact on the 5th. Venus will still be there, but a little bit further away. So on the 5th, you might feel like this growing feeling of like, I can't do this, or being blocked in some type of capacity. And a lot of this, I think, is internal. I do think some of us will experience this externally, but I think a lot of this will be internal as well. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about was Jupiter conjunct Neptune. So this is typically a positive aspect in the sky. These are very spiritual planets, especially in their home sign of Pisces. These planets feel very comfortable here. And I think that they just allow us to have a higher, more angelic or spiritual perspective of what is happening in our lives, as well as give ourselves more compassion and grace because of that understanding. And so what I'm hoping is that this will facilitate this healing, and you'll see that these planets are trining and sextiling the nodes. A sextile gives an opportunity for change through effort. And the trine is an easy flow. So we are being gifted this aspect from the universe to help us tap into the deeper soul aspect of ourselves to facilitate this healing, as I mentioned. But we have to overcome the more basic part of ourselves where we restrict ourselves, push ourselves down, give ourselves anxiety, feel insecure. That's represented by these planets. So don't fall into this trap of the square. You have to make changes. You have to make adjustments so that you don't default into this energy. And we're being given the option for this higher octave. And I think that this is an opportunity for a lot of us to grow substantially, because once we can overcome this hurdle of the past, it's like, what can't we do? And we'll just open up to new layers that feel more profound. So that is what I'm seeing for this new moon. And it is an exciting one, especially being the first new moon of this astrological year. So now let's go ahead and jump into all of the rising signs. All right, before we jump into the rising signs, I did want to share a quick look into my membership, the North Node Society. For just $20 a month, you get live calls every month with practitioners. We just had one with Paula Castillo, and she did some somatic healing around just kind of life stuff, but also incorporating astrology and chart readings. And the best part of this membership, obviously, is the community and the connections and being able to ask me questions. Like, you can see I have a little notification here, and it's an astrology question, and I'm going to pop in and answer it. So very helpful for people who are on their path learning, because there's a lot of information online that's either not accurate or it really doesn't take into context everything else. So the best part of this membership is the course, which you can find here. And there's a purpose astrology course. And I have live calls for this every month as well. And so I have the set kind of course here, which already was there when people signed up, which is the foundations of astrology, kind of walking you guys through everything that you really need to know, that I find the most useful in my practice. I don't share too much and I don't share too little. I think I really do share just the right amount. So we talk about the houses, the planets, the signs, the aspects, the lords and rulers, which is super important and something that I don't hear a ton of astrologers talking about unless they're more traditional astrologers. Things like aversion, which is also super important, North and South Node, Chiron, chart interpretations. And then I have the live calls, which break them down even more. So we look at the sun, and these calls are at least an hour and a half each. So they go super in depth into what is the sun in this house, what is the sun in this sign, and give some aspects and examples so that you can really start to piece together what your chart is like and what your client's chart is like. So we've gone through almost all the planets. We just have Pluto left, and then we're going to dive more into some chart analysis and examples and have some Q&As. So if that is something that interests you, definitely sign up and join so that you can join us for the live calls and you can ask us your chart questions. So I hope that you guys enjoy, and you can sign up using the link below. Thanks. All right, up first we have Aries Rising. So for you guys, this new moon is of course happening in your first house of yourself. And again, it is conjunct Chiron and it is conjunct Mercury. I will say, before we kind of jump into what that all means for you, I will say that your chart ruler Mars is hanging out with Saturn in your 11th house, which probably doesn't feel good. You might feel like life is having a little bit less oomph. You might feel more down or more depressed. You might feel like you are being blocked from achieving certain goals and desires that you want. And there's just more restrictions. However, Venus is there, which is helping alleviate some of this tension. But overall, I think you will still kind of feel that way. And with Venus there, it could even draw in Venus areas. Maybe you feel a little bit more blocked in relationships or in your ability to understand and cooperate or work well with others. Or maybe you might feel like money is a little bit harder to receive, or affection is at an arm's length. And so it can feel like with this Queen of Wands in reverse, you're not as confident as you usually are. You're not your full-on fiery, Aries rising self at this time. And you might be finding that you have a lot of responsibilities with this Two of Pentacles. And Saturn conjunct your chart ruler is all about taking on more responsibilities. My boyfriend just had Saturn on his sun, and his job just made him work more in that period of time than ever before, as well. Same with a client that I saw recently. And I think that's the same vibe when Saturn is with your chart ruler, is there's an element of having a lot of responsibilities to manage, a lot of time that you have to dedicate to duties. And that's a reason why life can feel less exciting, less stimulating, less adventurous than usual, because it kind of weighs you down in a way. But you guys also have Jupiter conjunct Neptune in your 12th. So one of the ways that you can, I think, help yourself right now is by taking some time alone, taking some time maybe like to travel or to spend some time in the ocean, really connecting more so with like artistic things that feel like an outlet, something that helps you escape life or disconnect from the responsibilities that you might feel at this time. Jupiter and Neptune are very great for spiritual development. If that's something that you're interested in, especially in the 12th house, you are becoming highly psychic. Your dreams can have a lot of premonitions and awareness to them that you might not have had the ability to tap into as easily before. And so I think that you guys are able to work on that if that's something that you want. And I might come back to that in a second, but I feel like I just completely skipped over this moon, which is again in your first. I definitely think you guys are having to face some aspects of yourself, of your past, of your choices, or things that you've even experienced and now reverberating like from those experiences into your choices now. And you're having to take agency or ownership over them and how they have affected your life. And with this Devil card, I feel like in some ways you guys may have felt trapped, trapped in this cycle of negative thinking, trapped in this cycle of poor habits or self-sabotage behavior, or some kind of addiction. The devil can be us avoiding our issues, not in the healthy way, like I was saying with Jupiter and Neptune, which is practicing art, being in the ocean, connecting with nature, traveling, spiritual development. It's like escaping reality through drugs, through TV, through things that are fine in small doses, but ultimately don't lead to lasting fulfillment. And so I think that you guys could have a time to look at the ways in which you are getting in your own head and trapping yourself. Like this person is trapped in the cage. This mermaid is trapping herself in this story or in this mental reality that isn't actually true. The fact is that she has the strength and the capacity to get out of this cage whenever she wants to, but I don't think that she feels capable of it. And so at this time, you guys might feel, again, a little bit more down or depressed or self-critical or insecure or uncertain about things in your future, about yourself. And a lot of this is stories that we need to cut out and to realize we have the capacity to change. With the Four of Pentacles in reverse, this is a card that creates stability, and it requires us to save our money and to focus on the future. And I think that being with the Devil card, there might be times in which you guys might feel overwhelmed by the future, especially with Saturn, with your in the 11th house of the future. It might feel like it's too much to think about, especially with you being in this Devil card locked in this cage. It might feel like you can only take kind of one day at a time or one step at a time, which is fine. But I think there is some element here of needing to work on that because your future is bright and there is more security in the future. And you can trust that things are going to be taken care of. But I think that there is some element of doubt, of worry, and really getting in your own head and in your own way. So that is something that you can work on at this time. Is really working on your mindset, especially with Mercury conjunct this new moon. It's just all mindset stuff coming up, and definitely stuff from the past. If you've watched my overview, the overview directly applies to you. It's just super... yeah, it's just super like on the nose or on the money with you. So just kind of take stock of where you might be keeping yourself small to feel more secure, and where you might be too scared to think ahead or to think big because of insecurities. So like these things where you're being trapped in the present moment, which again is good, but it's not good when you're like not willing to think long term for your goals, where you're not willing to have these bigger visions. So really question yourself and about maybe why you are resistant to that or hesitant to that, if that is the case for you right now. So that is what I'm going to say for you, my beautiful Aries rising. I hope that this is a good one for you. Even though it looks a little bit challenging, I ultimately think it's extremely healing. And so I think that you guys have a lot to benefit from this if you can work through some of the mindset shifts that are being required of you right now. And if you're interested in learning astrology like this, I highly recommend joining my membership, the North Node Society. I have a quick little promo for it actually right before your video. So if you skipped that, definitely go back and watch it, and you can see kind of what I offer, what the course entails, and just how great the community is. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next, I have my beautiful Taurus rising. So for you guys, this new moon in Aries is happening in your 12th house. And I definitely think that you guys are probably, this is interesting because having what I've been saying, sorry, I'm like, what I've been saying about this new moon is that there's so much focus on healing from the past and really working on our mindset and insecurities that are coming from past events. So I think that what's interesting about this is that being in the 12th house, which is the house very directly associated with the past, directly associated with things that are suppressed, especially like woundings that are suppressed. I find it interesting that this new moon is happening here. To me, that means it could feel a little bit less available to you. Like you might not go through this moon and be like, this is the thing that I need to work on. It might be happening on a subconscious level. It might be happening like through little things throughout your day that you might be processing and healing from some of these things. So there might be less awareness around what needs to heal, especially since it's a new moon, which has no light, right? Like the moon and the sun is not lighting up the moon. And so it's like the darkness brings still this lack of awareness with our conscious mind, but it helps us tap into awareness with our subconscious or our intuitive mind, which is what the 12th house also enables. And so I feel like you guys, again, are able to process a lot of this stuff intuitively or subconsciously or even through your dreams. And so it could be very interesting for you guys to create a dream journal to try to pull some stuff from the subconscious or unconscious into your awareness, if that's possible for you. So I pulled the King of Cups. So that I feel like kind of goes in line with exactly what I was saying, is a lot of this stuff is going to happen on a deeper level, and it might come out in ways that affects you emotionally. So sometimes have you guys ever had that experience where you just start crying and you're like, I don't know why I'm crying. As a Capricorn moon, this happens to me like more times than I care to admit. And I think that there's something to this with the King of Cups. There might be some element of experiencing intense emotions or experiencing just more either psychic or intuitive activity that kind of you're unaware of why it's happening. And the King of Cups here is trying to tell you to maybe go deeper, dig deeper into why am I crying? Why am I having this nightmare? Why am I having this good dream? You know, whatever it is. But I do think with Chiron there's a level of processing and healing of insecurities, of self-doubt, of self-sabotage that can come in really strongly. And so if those things are needing to be addressed, I think it's going to show symptoms through our emotional state. And so if you're not experiencing any of those things, then you're probably good, honestly. You might not have as much to work on as everyone else, or maybe you've been doing a lot of that work already. So that's something to keep in mind. I also pulled a 10 of Pentacles and the 2 of Pentacles for you. So you guys have Saturn conjunct Mars in your 10th house. Venus is also there. So what I'm seeing from this is it feels more positive with the 10 of Pentacles. But I will say when I think about the 10 of Pentacles, or when I think of specifically about these planets, really, with Saturn and Mars in the 10th, it's strongly pushing you to take more responsibility in your career and to have drive and ambition within the career space. So really beautiful. But what I will say with the 10 of Pentacles and with that energy is that with more wealth, with more success, with more recognition, with all those things in your life path and your career, your life direction, comes more responsibility. And you can see this family right here, they're all surrounded by around this table eating food. But who had to make that food? Who had to prepare that food? Who had to work for that food? Who had to buy that food? There's so much behind the scenes. When you see these people on Instagram, when you see these people on YouTube or whatever, you might think that their life is one way, but you don't realize how many hours of editing, how many hours of preparation beforehand, how much sweat and tears from the work and the negative comments and all the realness that goes into that level of ambition and success comes along with it. And so I think that you guys might be made more aware of that, especially with this 2 of Pentacles. You might be made more aware of this sense of duty and responsibility in your life and trying to juggle all of these things and feeling a little bit more pressure from it. So I think this could feel like a lot, but with Venus there, it's going to help alleviate some of that tension, alleviate some of that pressure, but still I think it's present. The last thing that I'll say is that you guys also have Jupiter conjunct Neptune in your 11th house of friendships. And wherever we're seeing this happen, I think is ultimately going to be a very positive event. For some people, depending on your chart, it could affect you a little bit negatively. But Jupiter with Neptune is generally going to give us this really compassionate, optimistic, loving kind of perspective and support from our friends. And I think that that's ultimately going to help you through any of these changes that you need to make. I just pulled the Six of Swords in reverse. The Six of Swords is about transitioning, movement, and change. And in reverse, it could feel like a hesitancy. And so there may be, the other thing I could say with that is, there may be some confusion with Neptune there about where you want to go, because the 11th house is our ability to see into the future and to know what we're doing next. And so Neptune here, and then expanding it, like Jupiter's expanding Neptune's energy, can create a haze or an uncertainty about those next steps. And so that's something that you can be aware of. If you're like, I'm not certain, I'm not sure, the best thing to do is tap into that support from your community, which is what is most benefited here, as well as spiritual community, and you're using your own intuition to guide your future rather than trying to have a super tangible set plan. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Taurus Rising. This generally looks good for you. It looks relatively easy for you compared to everyone else. So congratulations. And if you want to learn astrology, if you like this kind of stuff, then definitely check out my membership, the North Node Society. I did a little commercial for it, and I have a little time code for it. So if you skip that, I would definitely recommend checking it out to see what is offered in the astrology course that I have on there. And it's a very reasonable price for all of that information. You cannot find that anywhere online for that kind of price. So if you're interested in checking that out and joining us, I highly, highly recommend it. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful day. Bye. All right. And up next, we have Gemini Rising. So for you guys, this new moon in Aries is happening in your 11th house. And that means that you guys are having some type of new beginning, either in the area of your friendships, your community, or a lot of times when I say 11th house, I'm thinking of our self-initiated long-term goals. And so you guys might have some new ideas coming to you, some things that you've never tried before because this is Aries, or doing it in a way that you've never done before because, again, this is Aries. So very exciting, but because this new moon is conjunct Chiron, there is an element of needing to heal or release insecurities in order to stand in a leadership position in your community, in order to maybe lead events in your community, or learn from others in a different way. Maybe less so that, but I'm seeing you out in your community or having some kind of long-term goal that's requiring you to step up, to level up, to lead in some capacity. And it can trigger some of our deepest wounding around why we are not good enough. Chiron in Aries is a particularly hard one because it's a wound of the self. And so it can indicate a little bit more issues around willpower, and worthiness of just being yourself. And so I think a lot of what you guys are encountering today is really needing to put that to bed. And I just pulled a bunch of cards for you guys. So a lot going on. First of all, I pulled the Strength card, which I feel like is extremely relevant. The Strength card is just that. It's requiring you to have strength and a lot of self-compassion through this process of learning and growing. So as you're stepping up in a leadership position, I think that it's asking you to hold on to what you are doing. You have the Eight of Cups in reverse. So to me, this is you choosing not to walk away, but to keep steadfast in what you are doing and to keep trying hard. So even past the difficult times, even past the hard times, because I have the Nine of Wands as well, which is an indicator of not giving up, being tired, being restless, being uncertain, but not giving up even in that process. And then I feel like it's through that you're going to have a massive evolution with this Tower card. It's going to lead to this up leveling of the soul as you realize that you can get past this threshold of difficulty. You can face these certain fears, and that means you can do it again and again, and you can achieve bigger and better things each time. And so I feel like you guys, again, are having almost like a mini awakening by facing some of these challenges and insecurities, and allowing yourself to embrace this Tower moment of truly walking into the unknown, but with resilience and this idea that you're not going to give up no matter what you encounter where you are headed. So it's not about it being perfect. It's not about trying something new and being a leader and having these goals and it all working out perfectly. It's about doing your best regardless of the challenges that arise, because life is full of challenges. That's just how it is. You guys also have Saturn and Mars conjunct with Venus, so it's not as intense in your 9th house. So I think the biggest thing is just believing in yourself, believing it's possible, believing what you want is made for you, is on your side. And I think that this is where you can have the biggest trip ups. This is where you can really have this kind of stop and go energy that sometimes Saturn and Mars bring together, where you want to really push ahead, but it requires an extra amount of discipline. It requires an extra amount of effort. And then even when you do, there might be blockages, there might be delays, and then you have to keep pushing anyway. And I think that's going to specifically be in the area of your belief systems and your forward thinking nature. Another possibility is if you are interested in teaching or traveling abroad, or you need paperwork to come through for some of those elements of your life, or if you're trying to grow in some capacity as a person through maybe some personal growth tactics or courses. Those areas are going to, again, require a lot of discipline and consistency, and they might be frustrating. They might be not as easy going as you would like them to be, but it's here to challenge you, to change the way that you view something, so that you can keep going no matter what. The last thing I'll say is that you guys have Jupiter conjunct Neptune in your 10th house of career. So this is where we are receiving our blessings. I think that you guys are given the opportunity to be supported by the divine through your career. So I feel like there is something that you are working towards, and the divine wants it for you. It wants you to succeed. It's excited for this vision for you. And I think that you guys can tap into this vision through meditation, through intuition, through hypnosis, more so than just a critical thinking mind. I think it's going to ask you to tap into the goals or the long-term objectives you have in your life in a way that is more energetic. And I think that this is very helpful for that. It's very helpful to have kind of like your spirit guides or angels on your side for this. But it also can create some lack of clarity. So basically, you might be moving forward with something and really not know exactly how it's going to turn out, what the exact next steps are, or the process for it. And that's always okay. In this situation, you're really meant to surrender the plan, do your best to have agency and move towards your goals, but surrender the need to have a really fixed plan. And trust your intuition along the way in order to get you there. So that is what I'm seeing for you. The very last card is the Ten of Swords reversed, which can have multiple meanings, but being on the back of the Nine of Wands and the Tower, and then having the Ten of Swords reverse, I feel like this is indicating a breakthrough here, because the Nine of Wands feels like a buildup of tension, of energy, of anxiety, of hard work with no energetic outlet for all the pressure. And then the Tower moment occurs, which demolishes the existing structure. And I think that's why the Ten of Swords in reverse is like a release from all of that pain and suffering and hardship and the turmoil that you may have been putting yourself through. Because a lot of this with Chiron on the new moon is a lot about what we put ourselves through, mentally, just kind of focusing on these pains and wounds and things from the past, things that are really not even relevant to our life now, but they feel relevant because of how we kept them alive. So this is going to be your biggest lesson, is really shifting your beliefs, believing in yourself, stepping up in your community as some kind of leader, and allowing yourself to tap into your career objectives from a really intuitive, spiritual, emotional perspective. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Gemini Rising. If that resonates, please like and comment down below. And if you want to learn astrology, check out my membership, the North Node Society, which is, I made a commercial for it. And if you skip past it, definitely go check that out so you can see the course that's offered there and everything in there. And if you're interested in that, it's linked down below. So I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Cancer Rising. So for you guys, this new moon in Aries is happening in your 10th house of career. and it is conjunct Chiron there. So I do think that you guys, like all of us right now, are really being asked to step out. The 10th house is your public reputation, your visibility, the way that people view you. And I pulled the 6 of Wands, which is the exact same thing. Look at all these people viewing this person performing in their role, doing their job, and they're honoring them. They're excited about them. And right next to it, we have the Queen of Wands in reverse. So it's almost like there is some part of you that is lacking the confidence or the gumption to ask to be seen, or to put yourself out there in a really profound way, to kind of like, I mean, this new moon is in Aries. It's about self-initiative. It's about asking for the things that you want, taking the things that you want, almost like an aggressor. And so there are ways as a Cancer rising in which you may be more passive or more receptive in nature. And this Aries moon is asking you to step it up in a different way. And so it might be uncomfortable. It might feel unusual. It might feel like you're being just like way too confident or way too cocky at times, to be like, I'm awesome, and like toot your own horn, because I think that that's something that you maybe don't do. But generally what's happening right now is a need for you to push yourself out there into the environment. And so one of the best ways to do that is to really own your shit, own why you're so amazing, and talk really strongly about yourself, promote yourself. And you're going to have to confront any of those insecurities or things that bring you down in order to do that, in order to push yourself out there. The other thing that you guys have is Saturn and Mars conjunct in the 8th house in Aquarius. It's also with Venus there. So it's going to alleviate some of the tension, but Saturn and Mars conjunct is a challenging aspect, especially in the 8th house. I will say that this can be one of particular insecurity, especially. Let me pull a card just for that. Generally, when I see the 8th house, Mars is not so bad there, because generally it's like helps us through the crisis moments. You've got the Chariot, which came out sideways, the Hanged Man, and the Two of Cups in reverse. So Two of Cups in reverse is definitely saying there needs to be some self-love and maybe some self-discipline as well with the Chariot. Like having the Chariot not only is about moving things forward quickly, which I'm not really seeing with Mars conjunct Saturn, to be frank. What I'm seeing, though, with the Chariot is the sense of willpower. And Mars and Saturn combined, it's testing our willpower. And it's asking us, can we still persevere even when our will is blocked a little bit, even when our will is delayed a little bit, and we have to push and push and push and really try hard. And so I feel like this is asking you to become extremely concentrated and disciplined despite the outcome, despite what's going on around you. Especially because the Hanged Man is a card of patience and of things stalling out. And so what is going to make it stall out more is having a lack of self-love and self-compassion through this process. So I think that a lot of what this is doing is teaching us to love ourselves even when we are trying really hard to do things right and it's not super easy. Even when we are trying to shine our light bright and we're facing these things and we are doing our best and they still like aren't reaching maybe as many people as we would want, or we're not having the impact as we would want, or whatever it is. I think it's asking us to do it anyway, because it's more so about our love of ourself and us showing up in a really disciplined way rather than about the final outcome, which of course is super annoying to hear. The other thing that's going on is that you guys have Jupiter and Neptune conjunct in the 9th house, which is very beautiful for being uplifting. There is like this spiritual watch guard over you that is here to guide you through this time and help you believe in things more optimistically, helping you see things from a better vantage point instead of getting stuck in the weeds of this process. And on top of that, I feel like one of the ways you're going to have that support is through friends with this 3 of Cups. I feel like you guys, because this is coming out specifically, I feel like you guys are really being supported by your guides, but also by your community. And so I think that that's one of the benefits of this. And I think you'll be supported as a leader of the community with this Emperor card, if you can show up in this disciplined way, I feel like other people will recognize you, will see that. Is it the amount of people that you want? Is it the outcome that you want? Maybe not. With Mars conjunct Saturn, you might have to work harder for that, at least initially. But ultimately with these cards, I feel like others are going to see you as the king. Others are going to see you and recognize your power and your worth, but you have to recognize it first. So that's the important thing here, is to keep going no matter what, keep going, and love yourself throughout the process. And then the more that you can have confidence in yourself, the more others will have confidence in you as well. So I just saw 555 on the screen. If you guys are ready for some changes in life, that might be possible for you. Some new beginnings in your careers, new doors opening, but you have to believe in yourself and you have to believe it's possible. And you have to be disciplined in your pursuit of it and your pursuit of emotional intelligence and moving through some of the shadows or insecurities that do come up as you begin to lead and you step out bigger and you get seen on a bigger level. So if this resonates, Cancer Rising, let me know by liking, commenting down below. If you want to learn astrology, I made a whole commercial for my membership, the North Node Society. So if you skipped over that, I definitely recommend checking that out. It's super interesting because I have a whole video basically showing the course that's in there. And if you want to sign up for that, it's in the description box below. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Leo risings. So this new moon in Aries is happening in your 9th house. And I feel like in a lot of ways, it has you guys in this almost like, how should I say this? It's like childlike state of optimism. I feel like there's 2 chapters to this moon, or 2 chapters of at least what I'm seeing with the cards. First, I feel like with the 7 of Cups, I feel like you guys have like wishful thinking, if that makes sense. And with the new moon and the new beginning in your 9th house, there can be some wishful thinking that you have, some things that you are wanting, that you are striving for and dreaming about, like fantasizing about. With Chiron there, though, it might come on the back, or it might come with realizations of the insecurities that you might have, the wounds that are around there. It might feel like this is not something that you can just reach out and grab. It's something that's still kind of at a distance from you, or the wishful thinking can be that, it's just not like right there available to you. So I think that it is possible to have what you are wishing for, but it does take a certain amount of boundaries, and really working hard on creating a balance, because we got the 6 of Pentacles along with this. And so you might need to have some give and take. And you do have Saturn and Mars conjunct with Venus in your 7th house of balance and equilibrium. And so I think that there is a need for you to really create that balance, to create that, like I said, that equal give and take, to put boundaries up to make sure that's possible. So whether you are not showing up enough, or someone else isn't showing up enough, or something about your wishes, there needs to be like a balance or equilibrium around. And it could involve your relationships or other people. So this is definitely something to be thinking about at this time. And you might be questioning some of your relationships as well. With the 9 of Wands and the 4 of Cups, having Saturn and Mars in your 7th house can indicate some trouble in paradise when it comes to partnerships, or when it comes to close bonds, or even contracts. And I think that you guys are not willing to give up on it, though, with the 9 of Wands, but I think you guys are pulling away from it energetically with the 4 of Cups in reverse, and you're having to withdraw and check in with yourself to see really if this is for you, or what you need, or if you're not willing to give up on it yet. I feel like there's at least this desire to question things, or to revitalize yourself alone. And so I think that the area of partnerships or contracts and things like this, or even one-on-one clients, could feel more exhausting right now, could feel like you have to really put forth a lot of effort. But what I've been saying with Saturn and Mars is that it's like trying our willpower, because this card has come up a bit. I feel like it's trying our willpower. It's not asking us to give up. There might be some endings that occur with this, but it's not necessarily indicating that we're all just meant to throw in the towel because it gets hard. It is like going gets tough. It is one of those periods or those downturn cycles. And I think that's part of why you're withdrawing, to see, is this part of the downturn cycle, or is this the end of it? Like, is this how it's always going to be? And so I think that you guys are desiring something in your life, maybe even a partnership or something in your life that gives to you equally, that fills you up equally. But what you need to create is boundaries. What you need to do is check in with yourself and ask yourself if you are also showing up in that way. And then I think you can start to attract more of this equality. Because I think part of what the theme for Leo risings is asking for what you want and what you need. And then if that person or if this job or whatever it is doesn't show up in that way, then you can question and assess things from there. You guys also have Jupiter and Neptune conjunct in your 8th house. So I think that this is really powerful for having you guys kind of work on some of your insecurities, your fear of loss, or your fear of intimacy, or whatever you kind of worry about at night or worry about within yourself. This is helping you overcome that in a really spiritual, energetic way. So it's a really great time to like get hypnotized, to go, I would not even say to go to a therapist, more like an energy worker, like a Reiki healer. Yeah, it's just energy worker specifically would be a really great time to help you remove some of these blockages that you might hold on to from past insecurities or past pain that can come up in relationships or in some area of your life right now. And along with this, I pulled the Judgment card in reverse and the Chariot card upright. So the Chariot card upright is about having some sense of discipline, some like pushing things forward quickly and having things flow because we want them to flow. That's not necessarily going to be the case because Mars conjunct Saturn can delay things. But there might be like an extra need for us to face with our own willpower some of those elements of ourself that we're not always willing to look at. With all these planets in the 8th house, you are supported by the divine, when I feel like the Judgment card is a very divine card as well. And it's asking you to specifically look at the self-doubt that we experience, questioning your own judgment, questioning your intuition. And so this is your time to face whatever that is head on. If you do doubt your intuition, if you do doubt yourself, and know that your guides are there to support you because they are always listening to you and your intuition comes from them. So that is generally what I'm seeing for you guys. It's a lot about having these hopes and wishes, but needing to face some things in order to achieve them, having some blockages, and we all have this in some area right now. So yeah, I hope that resonates. And if it does, like and comment down below. And if you're interested in learning astrology, you should check out my commercial that I did for North Node Society, walking you through the entire astrology course that I have. And you can also sign up in the description box below. Okay, bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Virgo rising. So for you, this new moon is happening in your 8th house. And I definitely feel like you guys are having to face a lot of your own inner resilience. And I feel like the message has been very similar for everyone, because it seems like a time when we have to just face some insecurities to level up or step up in our life. And with the new moon being in the 8th house, this is even more potent for you. And Chiron conjunct this new moon as well. It's just a lot of energy around what we fear. And you guys are facing it in a different kind of way. It is being energized in your chart. It is being called to your attention. And so it can be called through a crisis or reliving something that feels traumatic or just triggering in some capacity. Not to say that we're going through trauma, but if it's hitting a personal planet or if it's somehow impactful in your chart, it can indicate having to face or relive something that feels like some repetition of some kind of past event that could have felt emotionally challenging. And we're doing it this time in a way that's supposed to help us renew ourselves and make different choices. And I see a lot of this coming through in the cards for you. So really beautiful stuff at the end of the day. The first thing I pulled was the Four of Swords, which is a card of rest and reflection. And the eighth house is a deeply psychological house. So I think it's almost like an advice card in terms of, what to do at this time is to really go and check within. But I will say after that, we have the Five of Wands, which is a combative card, a card of fighting. And I do think that for a lot of you guys, this will be an internal fight rather than external. I think it's going to be something within you that you have to battle through or to check yourself with in this process. And so it might require you to kind of put your battle armor on, be ready for something that feels more emotionally triggering or more emotionally challenging. And it is a hurdle to overcome for a new beginning. And I am seeing like a really profound new beginning with the Fool and the Magician card here. But you first have to face the dragons that are standing in the way of this new path. And so are you willing to do it? I think the Four of Swords is saying that you don't need to do this through like any special means. It's actually going within. It's this reflection, this integration of this battle rather than trying to do stuff about it, which is typical with Aries. Actually, it's a lot of action orientation. But in this case, I actually feel like being in the eighth house and with the Four Swords, the action that you can take is that reflection, maybe journaling about it. That's like the most activity I see, not making like massive changes in your life, doing this, doing that. I mean, maybe you will, but generally I feel like it's a time of just deep introspection and self-awareness. And I think taking action externally can take away from that process. And so even though this is an Aries moon, that's a little bit of a different interpretation for you specifically. You guys, I think, are going to have a really beautiful time right now in relationships with Jupiter conjunct Neptune in your seventh house. I think that this can give you kind of like this Fool and Magician card energy of any new potentials are possible. That's well said. I don't know. Like anything is possible in your relationships right now. Like you can manifest a new beginning. If you've had a certain relationship going on that's been challenging, you guys can manifest a really brand new, beautiful beginning with that person. Or if you've been wanting to cultivate a certain kind of relationship in your life, or even attract new clients or have different kinds of contracts signed, all those things that are things that you can manifest energetically to work out in your favor. So be very conscious of your mind right now. Be very conscious of your thoughts because they are very powerful. Your emotions as well are very powerful in terms of attracting other people, magnetizing other people to help you achieve your goals, to get certain things that you want, or to be with that person, or to be friends with that person, or work with that person. You have the opportunity to manifest it through energy, through emotion, through intuition, through spirituality. You guys also have Mars conjunct Saturn in the sixth house. So it might feel a little bit more frustrating in your work area, although Venus is there as well, which will help reduce some of the tension. You guys might have to become extremely diligent right now, extremely disciplined right now. And you might have with this Tower card some changes to your work or some realizations about yourself that really force you to make changes to the way that you go about your day-to-day life. You might even encounter that you want to work with different kinds of people. Maybe the people or the kind of work situation you've had has been a more menacing or really trying you emotionally. And with this Three of Pentacles and this brand new beginning in the seventh house, you might have the opportunity to make some kind of change to work with different kinds of people, even if it's the same company, maybe working under someone different, or maybe changing jobs, or maybe getting another job and sort of slowly transitioning. But the Tower card to me is that there is an unsustainable situation. So there's something in terms of your responsibilities that's unsustainable. It doesn't have to be just your job. It could be the way that you're managing your health, the way that you're managing your life or your resources. And so it's becoming unsustainable with this Mars conjunct Saturn. And it's really starting to build up the energy and create this blockage that the Tower represents release of that blockage. And I think the Three of Pentacles is what comes into its place, which is support, which is working with other people, getting other people to share this responsibility with you, because it might be just way too much for you to hold on your own. So I feel like if you guys are caring for someone or taking on a lot at work or doing something that requires a lot of your energy and it's not really paying you back, this could be a point where you realize, I'm done with this. this can't happen anymore, or something in the external might fall through to protect you and to help you have more support throughout this process. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Virgo Rising. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. If you want an astrology reading, or if you want to learn astrology, you can check out my services in the description box below. I did a commercial for the North Node Society, which is my membership where you can learn astrology with me. So definitely check that out if you skipped over it. It's super interesting because I walk you through the course that I made. So if that interests you, check that out. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Libra rising. So for you guys, this new moon is happening in your 7th house of partnerships because it is happening in the sign of Aries, which is, of course, your opposite. And so I think that you guys, because this new moon is conjunct Chiron, you guys are being asked to face some element around relationships that can bring up quite a bit of insecurities. Where have you been hurt in the past? Where have things from your childhood kind of leaked into your relationships, and how is it affecting it now? And you have the opportunity now to do things differently, which is all Aries. It's about taking action, taking initiative, facing things head on. And with this 3 of Swords in reverse and the moon in reverse, I feel like a lot is surfacing around what was once hidden. That's what I feel like the moon reverse is, since it's a card of the hidden. When it's reversed, it's finally bringing that to light. It's finally facing some of these deeply repressed emotions or circumstances or whatever traumas that are triggering you still today. And this could be a past relationship. This could be a childhood relationship with your parents. It's coming out in your intimate personal relationships, and it is affecting it today. And this moon in reverse is asking you to look at it. The 3 of Swords in reverse is saying that there is a healing happening. It might be a healing of present pain, but I think ultimately it's a healing of past pain. I think even if you feel it presently, it's healing it from the past. It's a long overdue thing, something that's kind of catching up with us finally. And it's anything with Chiron is just bringing it to light after years of lying dormant, but also unconsciously or subconsciously controlling our lives. And it might come out in the form of overthinking and anxiety, especially because this new moon is conjunct Mercury, and I pulled the 8 of Swords. There's a heavy emphasis on the mind and mental activity that can arise during this time, where you question a lot of things, you worry about things. You're just kind of having to face some of these challenging emotional circumstances in the present. And I think it can lead to a lot of self-criticism and a lot of self-doubt and just uncertainty about how do I want to move forward. I'm super anxious about this. Like, is this the right thing for me? And there's I'm not even going to go into it because there's so many other thoughts that we can have. And the 8 of Swords person is tied up and they can get out, but they have a blindfold on and they feel like they are truly stuck in this position because they can't see a way out. And so I feel like this new moon is asking us, because this is next to the 3 of Swords, to heal this overthinking, to heal this anxiety, to heal this level of thinking that we don't have a choice when we do have a choice. We do have a choice in how we feel and how we react to things. And when we are triggered from past events, sometimes it feels like we don't. Sometimes it feels like we're out of control. Things affect us so deeply. And so I think that's ultimately a large part of what's happening right now, is being able to face some of that head on. You guys also have Jupiter conjunct Neptune in your 6th house. So I definitely feel like in terms of benefits or beautiful things happening, you might start to notice that things start getting repaid to you. People who maybe you've helped in the past are starting to come back around and help you. There might be job opportunities that you've really wanted that finally come full circle for you. There might be elements in which you felt unsupported that now you're going to feel like you finally have that support and you're not just doing this on your own. It feels like a gift from the universe to be able to tap into the way that you move through your everyday life. Like, you can have help with your health. You can have help with your general mindset and anxiety, which is good because of the 8 of Swords I pulled. The 6th house is very much a very mental house in terms of anxiety. And mental health. And so I think it's a time for improving that, being more optimistic, specifically through spiritual insights. The way that we can overcome these things is by connecting to God, by meditating, by being very in tune with ourselves. And so I think it's going to be important to allow yourself the time to do that, and to make choices in your everyday life coming from that place. So meditating every day in order to decide big things, or in order to even like doing a quick check-in with yourself. Like, do I want to eat that? What's my body say? Things like that. It's allowing ourselves to connect more again with spirit in our everyday life and our everyday decisions, including our work and responsibilities. The last thing I'll say is that, actually, to kind of go along with that, you guys might have some new work opportunities, like I was mentioning with this Fool and the Queen of Pentacles, that allow you the opportunity to create maybe some more finances. You guys do have your South Node moving to the second house, which is generally a time when it's a less emphasis on finances or your personal finances. But I think that this is a time when other people can come help you out, when you can, well, the Queen of Pentacles is really independent. So maybe it's just something that you've truly deserved, something that you've put effort into prior, paying off financially and becoming more stable in who you are, more confident in what you have to offer. The last thing I'll mention is Saturn and conjunct Mars in the fifth house. Venus is also there, but generally it's only helping a little bit. So it's going to help alleviate some of this, but Saturn and Mars together is a little bit challenging. It creates some blockages in our ability to feel really playful and really loved and really unified. And this could come out in your relationships, especially with your children, because it is the fifth house. You could feel like your children are really testing you. I pulled the Five of Wands. So if you have kids, you might feel like they're more combative or more disagreeable. Disagreeable? Will you write down below if that's a word? Unagreeable? Anyway. This could come through if you're dating someone. It can kind of come through that relationship as well. Or if you've been trying to put your creative work out there, and you are trying to invest in some kind of creative venture or some kind of hobby that you want to make into a bigger thing, it's going to require a lot more resilience, a lot more effort. Like you're pushing uphill, you're pushing against something. So there is that element there. The fifth house can also indicate our ability to connect really deeply to this essence of play. And I think that you guys are going to be kind of working through a bit right now. So you might, again, feel like it's a lot of responsibility and less play than usual. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Libra Rising. If it resonates, please let me know by liking and commenting down below. And if you want to learn astrology, you should check out the commercial I did for my membership, the North Node Society. So if you skipped it, go ahead and go back to it. Check it out. I have a whole course on there and I walk you through it. So it's very worth your time. And so I linked that in the description box down below if you are interested in joining, or of course, if you want an astrology reading. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Scorpio Rising. So I will say, you guys, I just pulled some of the most beautiful cards for you. So I'm generally thinking that this is going to be a good new moon for you. The new moon is in Aries at 11 degrees in your sixth house of work and responsibilities and health. And it is conjunct Chiron and Mercury. So there is an element here of definitely having to deal with some of our over-analyzing, especially the sixth house is where we overthink things, where we get anxiety about things, where our mental health is slightly challenged. And typically it's because we take on a lot of burdens. We take on a lot of responsibilities of the world, for other people, for our job. And we might just have general insecurities about whether we're up for that challenge, whether we're up to face this new beginning in this area of our life, this new responsibility, this new duty. But I think that you guys absolutely are. With Chiron here, you just have to face some of those emotional ups and downs, or maybe more so mental, actually, those mental ups and downs that can cause emotional shifts. And if we can face those, then you have a lot to be thankful for. And I just feel like there's so much going on here. This is a new moon that is going to help you, again, step up in responsibility, in leadership, and duty. and discipline. And I pulled the Emperor card, which is about all of those things. And the Emperor knows how to rule his land. He is an expert. He has done this his whole life. He was born for this. And I feel like this is something that you guys were born for. Whatever this responsibility is, you guys were born for it. And so I think that you guys can trust whatever is coming onto your plate and not have this self-doubt. But there may be some learning still with the Page of Pentacles. There may be some things that you have to kind of, you're just at the start of this journey. It's a new moon, so there's a lot to kind of be picked up along the way. So even though you embody the Emperor energy in terms of your spirit, in terms of your discipline and ability to go after what you want and face these insecurities head on, to accept this challenge, accept this responsibility, even though that's the case, you still have the Page of Pentacles indicating that even though you embody the Emperor, maybe there's still a lot you have to learn physically or externally in the world. Maybe there's still a lot you have to go through to actually be the Emperor. And so you are the Emperor, but now you have to play it out into the real world. And you're kind of having this brand new beginning in this area of your life. And I think that this is a time of true wish fulfillment. You guys have Jupiter conjunct Neptune in the 5th house of gains, of joy, of pleasure, of things that bring us happiness. And you guys have the 9 of Cups here. If some of you guys are wanting children, I also pulled this with the 7 of Cups, and this indication has a child being born on it. If it's some creative project, this is some kind of thing that you are birthing out into the world that you are excited about, that is a wish come true, a dream come true, something you've always wanted. And so this is truly possible for you, but you have to embody the Emperor. You have to have that discipline and that emotional regulation, overcome insecurities, feel like you're an authority, in order to bring this beautiful gift and wish into life. And so this is such a beautiful thing. And you guys, I think you're really going to have to face some challenges that come from the home, because we have Mars conjunct Saturn in the 4th house. Venus is also there, which lightens it up a little bit. But generally, Mars conjunct Saturn in the 4th is absolutely going to challenge you in terms of your home life. So maybe there's something that made you feel really stable, really secure, that is no longer going to be an option for you to have. Or maybe there is some element of your emotional self that you have to really challenge right now. Or maybe there's a lot. When I think about the 4th house and everything going on with Chiron, there's a lot from the past, from our childhood, from what our family taught us, from what we're told to believe about ourselves and about life as children, that you guys are going to have to face head on. And this Mars with Saturn is squaring the nodes. So we have to go through it, we have to go through it, not around it, in order to evolve into this person that we want to be. I just pulled the 9 of Pentacles in order to describe this 9 of Pentacles in reverse specifically. So upright, I would see this as a lot of stability, a lot of financial wealth, but in reverse, this can indicate a lack of stability, or this may be a little bit more of a feeling of scarcity. I'm not necessarily seeing this be around finances. I mean, for some of you it might, but I think that a lot of this is actually maybe more so just feeling like there's some kind of support that you need that's not there. It could be family support of your loved ones that are really close to you, or it could be financial support, some of the resources that you need, or you feel like you don't have the emotional bandwidth for something right now. So I just kind of feel like it's some lack of stability, something that you could use, whether that's within yourself, you could use more of something within yourself, or whether it's external, like something from someone else or something from the environment. There's some kind of like lack of stability there that you're going to have to face head on and be very disciplined around. Mars conjunct Saturn is saying things aren't necessarily moving forward super well, but we have the willpower and the agency to move it forward, despite the odds, despite the setbacks. And so I think that you guys are being asked to kind of keep pushing, keep chugging along. Don't give up. Don't give up on your beliefs. Don't give up on this new beginning. And don't let anything from the past or a lack of stability or lack of support hold you back or make you question yourself, because or even your emotional nature. Don't allow that to get in the way, because that's just it's just not necessary. And so you can turn this upright and create your own stability. It might take some time, but it's going to ultimately be there, especially when Mars and Saturn move apart, which should be not too much longer after this. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio Rising. If that resonates, please let me know by liking and commenting down below. And if you guys want to learn astrology, you should check out my membership, the North Node Society. I created a commercial for it in this video. So if you skip that, definitely check it out because I walk you through the course that I offer there, which is really great. And so if you're interested in joining, you can check that out in the description box below. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Bye. Okay, my beautiful Sagittarius risings. This one is for you. So you guys are having this new moon in Aries in your 5th house. I honestly don't even want to jump into that yet because I pulled cards for you and there are so many swords cards. And the first thing that drew my eye to this in your chart was Saturn conjunct Mars in the 3rd house. Venus is there too, helping alleviate a little bit, but generally Saturn and Mars combine create levels of a lot of mental distress, which obviously can cause emotional distress, but really getting in your head, really overthinking things, and just kind of not, not seeing a way forward because there's so much clouded judgment. I pulled the Ace of Swords in reverse, which is about clouded judgment, not seeing things clearly, and then the Two of Swords, which is about indecision. So I feel like you guys with the Page of Swords are having a lot of ideas that you aren't acting on with the Two of Wands in reverse. I feel like these ideas are lying dormant. You're considering them, but you're mulling over some kind of decision. Maybe this new idea is something separate. Maybe it's along with the same thing, but there is something that you are mulling over and mulling over and mulling over, and you are not taking action on it. You don't know. And I think it's almost giving you anxiety. And so one of the things that I would recommend at this time is to really create a very peaceful home environment and drop into your intuition, your spirituality, your creativity, and your body, because you guys have Jupiter conjunct Neptune in the 4th house, which is about creating a sacred container within the home. And definitely you are being spiritually guided to create some sense of security and safety for yourself. So what gives you that emotional regulation? What gives you that feeling of safety? That's something that I feel like you guys need right now. You guys need this stability. You need this firm ground to land on. And this new idea might feel really exciting and new, but maybe the Two of Wands, maybe it's not time to venture out and take risks right now. Maybe, well, let me look at this moon first because the new moon is in the 5th house, which I think is maybe saying that you are kind of gearing up in this new creative idea. And the 5th house is a little bit more of a risk-taking house. It's where we might want to gamble things away, or it's not risk in the sense of like, I love adrenaline, but risk in the sense of what daring moves can I make towards the things that feel really exciting, that like light me up, that bring me passion, that make me feel alive. So some of you that could be adrenaline, but a lot of you guys, it's going to be about some kind of new creative endeavor or venture that you haven't considered before, or a new dating life that you've never, maybe opened up to fully yet, or something like that. But I will say this new moon is conjunct Chiron and Mercury. So there is a lot of insecurities that we have to face. There's a lot of mental and emotional processes that are kind of tripping us up that actually stem from childhood. So the ways in which we think we are not worthy of our inherent desires are going to come up really, really strongly. The 5th house is the house ruled by Leo, and Aries has a lot to do with us being able to ask for what we want, and Leo feels like it deserves those things. And so with Chiron there, it can make us question it, can I have this? Like, am I deserving of this? And it can be even a subconscious thing. So it's very helpful, I think, to examine where you might be holding yourself back, or where your insecurities and negative thoughts about yourself can hold yourself back because you may feel unworthy of the things that you want, unworthy of the love or the desires or whatever it is that you're seeking. And I think that those things can kind of compound and create this level of anxiety, or this back and forth and this clouded judgment and this unsureness that typically can come from allowing our fears and our past to override the excitement and the truth of what we're experiencing now. I will say, however, I am getting a strong sense of like needing security. And so I don't necessarily want to recommend that you guys take like a ton of new risks. I would say like put one step in front of the other forward, because with Jupiter and Neptune in the fourth, I feel like I'm seeing you guys being like wrapped or enveloped in this cozy blanket and this cloud of love, and safe where you are. And I feel like you guys need to know that, and you need to feel that. And I think you will. But I think that there can be some level of risk that can take you out of that. And so I think it will be maybe about having a good balance. You know, how can you do these new things, take these new risks, go on these new adventures, whatever it is that you're looking for, while also having some sense of stability, security, emotional support for yourself. Because I just don't want this level of anxiety and everything going on with in the third house. I don't want it to become worse by taking unnecessary risks or removing some kind of safety net or something that feels really, really good to you. So let me kind of ask the tarot, because that was kind of fast. Let me ask the tarot what is your advice for Sagittarius in terms of taking risks and starting something new? It is a new moon, which is about starting new things, but what is your advice around that? I got the Page of Wands in reverse. Okay, this card is about having kind of like what I was saying before, a lack of clarity about how to move things forward, having these new ideas, but not really knowing how to implement them or where to go from there, and it causing a level of inaction. So really what I feel like Spirit is trying to say is that these things will kind of work themselves out over time, that you can't just force yourself to know what's next. But sometimes things have to develop, things have to occur in your external environment for things to click internally about your next thought or your next step in life. And so this to me is saying that there's a brewing happening. And maybe that's why I felt like you were enveloped in love and emotional support by Spirit, because you're in an incubation stage where you're maybe kind of like the horse with these ideas kind of pawing behind the gate, ready to run, but yet it's a little bit too eager. There would be too many obstacles, or there isn't a clear path. And it's like you have to really know where you're going. And so I think the biggest thing here is to have patience, keep checking in with yourself about this goal, about this path. And then I think at some point it will just clear itself up for you naturally. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Sag Rising. If that resonates, please like and comment down below. If you guys want an astrology reading, then check me out at willsboom.com. Or if you want to learn astrology like me, then you can check out my membership, the North Node Society, in the description box below. I also made a commercial for it at the beginning of this video or somewhere in the middle. And that will be linked in the time codes. Definitely check that out if you want to see what's in the membership, if you want to see the astrology course I have to offer and what the community looks like. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right. Up next, you have my beautiful Capricorn Rising. So a lot of cards came out for you guys. And I definitely think that you got a lot of energy going on. This new moon in Aries is happening in your fourth house of home and family. It is conjunct Chiron and Mercury. So what I'm saying for everyone today is there's a lot of deep emotional processing. And I definitely feel like for you guys, it is tied to your family, to your history, to your ancestry. And I think that you guys are ultimately walking away from a past that you don't want to perpetuate. With the King of Swords and the Eight of Cups, I feel like you guys are having an awakening or realization around familial patterns or things you may have inherited, or some aspect of your emotional nature and your way of living in your home and your day-to-day life that is really coming from your family and is not authentic to you. It doesn't uplift you. It's a story. It's a cycle. It's an ancestral pattern. And so what I'm feeling with this King of Swords is your ability to use discernment and boundaries to cut the cords and the ties to the past that no longer serve you, and to walk away. And you can see she's walking back into the ocean to cleanse herself, to have a renewed emotional outlook. And so I think that you guys are doing a lot of purging almost, and it can release a lot of long held beliefs, a lot of long held insecurities about the self that are, again, not your own. I feel like these are things you've adopted, that you've inherited, rather than being truly things that you have developed through your own personal experiences. It's through the experience of your family that got passed down to you. And I think you guys also got the Strength card, and then the the Four of Cups in reverse. The Four of Cups upright is a card related to kind of looking away from our blessings, and not really seeing them clearly. But in reverse, I feel like you guys are wanting to honor the things that are going right in your life. And next to the Strength card, I kind of feel like I think that this requires strength in a way. Like, it requires your steadfastness to not see the glass half empty, to not think pessimistically, to not let yourself get down. I feel like you guys are trying to view things in a way of a new perspective of, here's what I've got, here's what, I'm dealing with, but then this is the amazing things I've made out of it. Here's what I'm doing right. Like, giving yourself credit, honoring yourself, respecting the good things that are in your life, instead of just with one fell swoop being like, my life sucks. Because it's not true. No one's life sucks all around. There is always something great in everyone's life, even if it's just one little thing. And so I think that that's a lot of what you're having to do, is use your inner strength and courage and discipline and self-love to look at the elements of your life and what you're doing right, while honoring your ancestry and walking away from the things that you've inherited that have felt toxic, that have felt down. And I feel like you are shifting your focus from all the things that weren't working. You're walking away from them. You're lighter, and then you can shift into what it is working. But because it requires because you've been doing the opposite, it requires more energy. It requires more attention. And that's why I think I got the Strength card. It's not an easy process. It's not just going to come right to you. It might come in like bursts. And so I think that this is your opportunity to truly become disciplined at looking at things more optimistically. And I think that's part of the reason why you guys have Jupiter conjunct Neptune in your third house. It's about enhancing the mindset, especially through spiritual or creative practices, or through your intuition, trusting your guides, trusting the universe to uplift your mind, to not get caught in the weeds. Jupiter is the planet that's associated with the higher level understanding, the higher mind. It can view things from a spiritual or soul perspective. Neptune as well is extremely able to tap into the energy of what's happening. And so I think that you guys, with those planets, are able to gather that strength to look at the blessings and shift your mindset from one way to another way. You guys also have the Eight of Swords and the Four of Pentacles. So I do think that you guys might be a little bit stressed about finances or your stability right now, because you guys have Saturn conjunct Mars in the second house of finances, with Venus there as well. Venus does alleviate some of that, but it's also associated with money. And so I'm getting the feeling that the topic of money, specifically like money that you're stowing away for the future, long-term security, because that's what Saturn is about. It's about longevity, right? It's about our preparation for what's down the line. And I feel like this is really having you kind of stir up energy in this area, question yourself. You might feel like you're not doing good enough, like you haven't prepared enough financially, like you're not stable enough for what's coming or for the changes that you might want to make in your life. You might see certain things that you want to achieve, certain things that you want to do, and be like, well, I don't have the means to just go out and do that. I have to prepare, I have to plan. And it might give you anxiety to feel like disappointment that you haven't done that prior. But that's really not going to serve you. I ultimately feel like you're going to have some big realizations with this moon in reverse, bringing clarity to the situation around your work and your responsibilities with this Eight of Pentacles and Two of Pentacles. And I think that this will help you just kind of prepare more financially for what's ahead by understanding what you want out of your current opportunities. I hope that makes sense. I feel like that didn't make sense to me. So let me keep talking about it. Eight of Pentacles and Two of Pentacles is investing our time and energy into things, having quite a bit of things that we want to achieve or that we want to do, and feeling like we have to juggle a lot of things at once, and being like a generally busy person, being quite occupied. And the moon in reverse, I think, is having us realize elements of this, like maybe something that was hidden before around your responsibilities or things that you want to do or create in the future. It's like you're realizing more about it, like what you, maybe you're realizing kind of what you want to do. Maybe that's what I was saying. Like there's just, I feel like there's more clarity coming in. Like this is what I want to do long term, and this is how I'm going to manage to do multiple things at once in order to prepare for that. And then because of that, I'm kind of backtracking. Because of that, you're more worried about the financial stability of yourself because of these new desires. But ultimately that's a good thing because you can change your financial circumstances, but it's a lot harder to just like know what you want to do. And I feel like a lot of that is coming to the surface and you're getting a lot clearer about what that future looks like for you. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Capricorn Rising. If it resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. And if you want an astrology reading, check me out at willsboom.com. And I have a membership called the North Node Society where I teach you guys astrology and I have a whole course in there. And I did a little commercial for it in this video. So if you want to check that out, it will be linked in the time codes. And there's also a link to sign up for it in the description box below. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. All right, up next, I have my beautiful Aquarius Rising. So for you guys, this new moon in Aries is happening in your third house, conjunct Chiron, which is an asteroid related to our stress and trauma and pain and all those things from the past, from our childhood. And so a lot of this new moon can be mental for you, or you might have maybe some conversations even that come up that trigger things from the past that have to have you resolve them in the way that you communicate with others. And because this new moon is in Aries, it's about taking initiative, facing these things head on, having these difficult conversations, or facing these difficult thought patterns that you might be in a loop with. And I pulled the Moon card and the Five of Pentacles, which to me is an indicator that there is some element of feeling like your needs are not being met in some kind of way, where you're feeling a lack or a scarcity in life, either with other individuals or within your own pursuits of things. And the Moon card next to it is telling me that you have not fully gone into this. There is some element of the unknown, that you haven't unpacked this topic fully, whether that means you haven't had a conversation yet with someone, or whether that means you haven't fully examined certain thought processes that are leading to this feeling of scarcity. There is something here that is very psychologically driven, very unconscious, that you are being asked to face now, or to look at further now, even if that means it's coming in a way that is I just totally blanked on what I was going to say. That's so weird. I just looked at something on your chart. I was looking at Pluto being in your 12th house and thinking that that might have something to do with this being repressed, this Moon card of things being kind of hidden away from you, and this feeling like I just don't have enough, there's lack, there's scarcity. That makes sense with Saturn being in your first house, especially conjunct Mars, and even with Venus there, all conjunct in your first house. This is kind of saying like, what I want is impossible. What I want to get, I have to work so hard for. And it's like I move one step forward and two steps back. And so it can give them this feeling of really being frustrated, of feeling like the universe isn't providing for you in the ways that you'd hoped, or like you're putting so much effort in and you're spinning your wheels and you're entering into a level of anxiety or exhaustion or frustration. Because Saturn conjunct Mars can give us that feeling of needing to have extra willpower and discipline to push through something. And being in your first house, it's kind of like just to push through life, to push through whatever you're facing in life. And so there is, I feel like this is a message from Spirit that there is some unconscious or subconscious patterns of thinking or communicating or lack thereof that you are being asked to examine with this moon card, and with this new moon being in the third house with Chiron. There's some element of this being repressed, likely because of childhood wounding. Maybe you tried to express yourself and your desires and your needs as a child, and those were met with criticism or disdain or something uncomfortable. Or maybe you had difficult conversations with people growing up, and it didn't go well, and you didn't get the kind of reward for being vulnerable or for speaking your needs and saying things like that. Or maybe you just were inheriting certain ways of looking at the world, or certain thought patterns or beliefs about life that are outdated and that are not serving you, that are restricting you and keeping you small and keeping you feeling frustrated, because you're really just keep on banging against the own walls that you have set up around yourself, and you're like, why am I not moving forward? And it's because these things that you have inherited, or things that you have cultivated over the years within the mind, or within your communication, or within your environment, that are really coming from a wounded place and ultimately inhibiting you. And so it's time to look at those things in a new way, in a way that's willing to be adventurous. Because I pulled the Page of Wands, and the Page of Wands is coming at this experience from a place of passion and interest and intrigue. It's an energy more so associated with somebody who is excited to kind of tackle the unknown, or this adventure that's happening. And so I feel like this is what you're being asked to do. Can you look at your mindset through a new lens of this being an adventure, to think a new way, or to challenge certain insecurities that you might have, or overthinking that you might have, to change the perspective on it, to look at it from, oh, this is exciting. I'm going to view life in a totally different way. I'm going to follow my passions, and it's okay if things aren't working out right away. I'm not going to make it mean something about me. I'm going to still follow them anyway. I can still feel excited even when all of life doesn't align right away, because it's not personal. And I think that's ultimately going to lead to a lot more success in your life, when you drop some of the seriousness and some of the pressure and the anxiety and the worry and the insecurities that you're putting on yourself in order to achieve certain goals. You guys also are being really blessed at this time with Jupiter and Neptune in your second house, although justice. So if there are things financially that you've been wanting to pan out, or that you've put effort into prior, having Jupiter with Neptune here can create a sense of equality or justice or equilibrium in your finances. It doesn't necessarily always mean you're going to have tons of abundance, or maybe you have a lot of abundance, but you will also spend some of it because Neptune is there, and you're maybe not totally aware of where all your money is going. That can be a thing. But generally, this is a full support from the universe that you will have your needs met. Even if you do spend some, you might not have a surplus, and maybe you will, who knows. There is some element here of things balancing out. So efforts that you've made prior kind of coming in, having your back. So the finances or the stability or the confidence can come in through the universe and support you. I think a lot of this is going to be finances, to be honest, but it can be kind of any asset, any resource in your life. So if you've been wanting to buy that house, if you've been wanting to have a new car, or whatever kind of physical resource you've been desiring, I feel like this Justice card is saying it's going to work out in your favor. There's going to be a positive contract or positive development in that area of your life, and you can trust it. You can be excited about it. You can open up to it with this Page of Wands. Get excited about life, and take some of this Five of Pentacles lack mentality out of it, because you truly do have the things that you need, or you are manifesting the things that you need, even if it's not always coming as quickly as you'd hoped. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Aquarius Rising. If it resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. And if you guys want to learn astrology or get an astrology reading from me, you can check out my membership or my offerings in the description box below. My membership is called the North Node Society, and I did a commercial for it, and I walked you through the entire astrology course that I offer, and it's really cool. So I highly suggest checking that out, again, in the description box below. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. Things for you guys, this new moon in Aquarius and Aries is happening in your second house of finances, and I definitely think our self-confidence as well, which Chiron and Mercury are conjunct this new moon, which is indicating to me a level of worry. You have a new beginning in the area of finances, but also you have to it's almost like a new emotional beginning, a new beginning in the way that we tackle our old hurts, our old wounds, our old insecurities, around our confidence or around our money management or around our ability to manifest more and manifest money. And so I think that you guys are having some deep realizations about this particular area of your life, and questioning how you can release some of it to bring about a greater sense of security. And I'll probably dive more into that, but I did want to talk about this really interesting Saturn conjunct Mars, with Venus there as well in your 12th house. So Venus is going to help alleviate some of the stress of this, but Saturn conjunct Mars, both the malefics together, not a fun thing to have in general. We're all experiencing this right now. This can bring about a lot more discord, feeling very frustrated, feeling like things are hard to get off the ground, like we are having to push a ball up the hill, and our will is being kind of blocked in some capacity. And being in the 12th house of self-sabotage, this can definitely come in through the back door, let's just say. It can come into your life in a sneaky way. The 12th house is also indicative of the hidden and the hidden enemies as well. So there can be people that are subverting you, that are kind of talking ill against you. There can be other people essentially that can be some source of blockage or frustration, but it's happening in an unknown way, like people talking about you to someone or whatever. But this can also be things, like I said, like self-sabotage, where things are coming out within you, where you are presenting this to the world, but you're maybe not even realizing it. Like, oh, I am staying up really late. I am talking poorly about myself. I am lowering myself, or like not standing confidently, or whatever, whatever it is. It can be so many things. Self-sabotaging through your actions, through your mindset, but things that you're not completely aware of or conscious of that are happening on autopilot, that are happening underneath the surface or coming from others in a secretive way. And so that can be an area where you're experiencing the most trip ups. You can also be experiencing a level of self-doubt that comes from the spirit realm, feeling like you're not supported spiritually. Actually, I'm going to take that back because of the alignment that I see in your first house, which I'll talk about in a second. But it can lead to a discomfort in surrendering, and trusting that, and trusting the process. And it can lead to exhaustion. The Nine of Wands is a card I'm seeing again and again and again in all these groups. And it's a card of perseverance and resilience and not giving up. This Mars conjunct Saturn is all about that. It's about going after what we want, not giving up, and facing a lot of obstacles along the way, facing tests of our strength. Because if we're not going to give up, it's because we're facing something that people would give up on, right? And so there are going to be things that you're going to have to use your willpower to overcome. And if it's addiction, if it's mental health issues, if it's self-sabotage, if it's people talking behind your back, like whatever it is in the 12th house, it is taking your discipline to either look the other way, to face things head on, depending on what the issue is, and to try to do something about it in a different way than you've done before. Because the tactic, I think, is that you've been going at it is maybe not working anymore. And that's probably why the Chariot card is here. It's saying don't give up on your goals, but maybe there are some ways that you're undermining yourself, or that you're being undermined, that you can do something about with this card, because this is a card of willpower and decisions and moving forward despite all odds. And so I think that you guys have that ability right now, but you have to be extremely intentional with what's happening, and try to tap in and be aware, if not intellectually, at least on an energetic level, of things that might be blocking you. And I think you are more open up to the energetic realm right now, because you have Jupiter and Neptune in your home sign in Pisces. These are both your planetary rulers, both modern and traditional, meaning they are at home in this sign. They are comfortable here. It's in your first house, supporting you, supporting your life path, supporting your intuition. And it's trining the North Node in the 9th house for you. It's sextiling the North Node in the 3rd house for you, and trining the South Node in the 9th. So it's really helping you open up to new ideas and new insight and things that are like divine downloads, things that you never would have thought of on your own, because the universe is pouring into you right now. This is one of the most supportive aspects that you can get in all of the charts. And so this is your time to shine. I think that's why I pulled the Knight of Swords, are these ideas being birthed or coming into you right now that are very exciting for new beginnings. With this Page of Pentacles, I feel like these are new things that you want to start, that you want to make tangible. And that's probably why you have a new moon in the second house of the tangible material world. You're getting ideas right now from divine downloads, inspiration, fantasies, all again from this ethereal realm, all from this spiritual realm. You're receiving all of that, and you're being asked to ground some of it in the material, to take one step, one little seed, and put it in the ground. Don't get too crazy with it, because ultimately you have responsibilities that you need to balance. This is another card I keep seeing a lot, the Two of Pentacles. Interesting. We have a lot that you need to balance. You have your current responsibilities that you need to maintain with these new divine downloads and inspirations coming in. So can you put that seedling in the ground? Can you water it without ignoring your current responsibilities and your current duties? So it's a lot about having integrity for what you're already doing, not undermining yourself, and having integrity with yourself, to keep going and not give up on your dreams and on your current goals. And then also follow these new things coming in, these new inspirations and passions and ideas, because there is something here. This is very divinely guided. So there is something here for you, especially if this is on a personal planet. So if you want to see that, of course, you can always buy a reading from me, and I can look at this on your chart, because if this is hitting a personal planet, then it can open up just so many new doors in a different way than just having this unaspected in your chart. So that is what I'm saying for you, Pisces. If this resonates, please let me know by liking and commenting down below. If you want to have an astrology reading, you'll find that in the description box. But if you want to learn astrology yourself, I have a membership called the North Node Society. I did a commercial for it earlier. Definitely worth looking at that commercial. If you skipped over it, I put a time code for it. Go back, because it's basically the best way to kind of see what's inside the membership. I have a whole course there, and I kind of walk you through the visual of the back end of it. So worth your time. If you're interested, definitely check that out in the description box below. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Bye.